that time, y'all. Time for Big Boys Boxing.
I would never let a white boy be me. I would never let a white boy be me.
Possible opponent.
Big right hand, he's out.
And it's over. It's over, and it's going to be a knockout victory for Joe Smith.
What is up, team? Hope everybody is doing well and keeping safe. So, as per usual, let me get a few things sorted here. Sound check. So everything's running fine. No more ticket issues. Playing someone Saturday in New Zealand time. No more ticket issues. Good. It is. So yes, over the weekend we had a few decent heavyweight dust-ups. One in particular, Joyce versus Daniel Dubois fight. Just to talk about with that one. In the aftermath of what was an upset according to the bookies. But really, I don't think Dubois should have been a favourite by that far in the first place. I always said coming into it was a 50-50 fight. And we got the results in the 10th round. Daniel Dubois took a knee. Didn't beat the count. He quit. He did quit. But I'm not going to call him a pussy. I'm not going to call him not a warrior or anything like that. The dude's 23 years old. And he copped a lot of jabs in that fight. A lot of jabs. Gareth Hancock in the house. Good to have you in, brother. And it's since been made news that Daniel Dubois suffered a fractured orbital bone. That's why his eye was swelling up so bad. And to me, there's none of this if Daniel Dubois hadn't have sustained an injury, because Joyce caused the injury. He jabbed a lot in the fight. I didn't expect him to jab as much as he did. But I also didn't expect Daniel Dubois not to have his hands up high enough to block it. He was eating every jab that Joyce threw. If Joe was in range and he popped the jab out there, it landed. And Dubois suffered the injury because of it. So, Joyce does have to be credited here. It's not Daniel Dubois wasn't up to the task. Well, in a way it was. It's not Daniel Dubois is a hype job. The dude's got some learning to do, man. Now, the way I see it, he probably did the smartest thing. Oops, my mic wasn't in place. Hopefully that's better now. He did the smartest thing. The dude's 23 years old. He obviously knew that his face was busted. The bones in his skull around his eye were fractured, which compromises the integrity of your skull. If he had continued and taken more jabs and possibly more, even some right hands on that eye when he couldn't see them coming, could have caved the skull right in. As it is, we don't know if there's going to be any long-lasting nerve damage. He may not be able to get another boxing license ever again, depending on what damage has been done. But if he had have continued, I'm pretty sure that he would have sustained more damage, some permanent damage, and he definitely wouldn't have been able to box ever again. So this is the reason I ain't calling the dude a pussy. I ain't calling the dude not a warrior. I mean, Dillian White in particular jumped on social media straight away. Said this dude ain't got it, pretty much. If I was going out, I'd get knocked out to go out, which is fair enough. But how many fights has Dillian Whyte been in, having a fractured orbital bone and continued through it? Zero. Absolutely zero. So he doesn't have the experience to be talking about that whatsoever. We got Stephen 4722 in the house as well, aka Mala. Good to have you in, brother. It could be the end of the career. He may never receive. He may never recover. I agree, Jono. Yeah, exactly, man. He did the smartest thing if he wanted to continue boxing. So I don't think there's any element of him being a coward or anything in it. You know, it's the same injury that Cal had suffered against Triple G, and also on the other side against Errol Spence. You can't continue when you have an injury like that. Your whole face could be caved in. You could go blind. You could die. So Daniel Dubois can come again, but like I say, I think he's got some learning to do. Now, I'm going to drop a link in the chat for anybody who may like to join. Come and have a yarn about this and give your opinion. And after I've dropped this, I'll get into how I thought the fight went. Give me a sec here. There's a link to join. Pin that to the top for y'all so it doesn't disappear. I'll go jump into this chat myself. I am in there. Make some couple of adjustments here so we can see properly who is in the chat. Check it. Still working awesome. There we go. So just me in the chat at the moment. But man, I thought it was an interesting fight. I had Daniel Dubois up 1 round after the 9th, 5-4. It was a close fight. I thought through a lot of the rounds, Joyce's jab was landing more often, but I thought a lot of the heavier eye-catching shots, the effective bigger shots were getting landed by Dubois in a lot of rounds. But man, just not having those hands high enough. Dubois was doing well defending that jab to the body that Joyce was throwing down there, and he was smacking it down, getting it out of the way. But the consequence of having your hands low enough to do that consistently is he was eating that jab all night, man, all night. And he paid the price for it. There was one shot that Dubois landed, I think it was in the 2nd round. I think he hurt Joyce a bit, and Joyce hung on, trying to hang on for a bit, and Daniel sort of fought his way out of a clinch and started trying to go to town again, and Joyce grabbed hold of him again. But that was the only shot I thought was substantial enough to make Joyce think about a little bit more defense. But I also thought Joyce maintaining his range and not just bowling forward all night was a little bit out of character for him. It was a bit more smart in his using his little bit of a reach advantage, using his height as an advantage, and it all paid off. So, you know, Joe Joyce's defense still wasn't that great, but using his range as his defense against the guy with the shorter reach was effective. Very smart from Joe Joyce. Very smart, man. Very smart indeed, I thought. He had no head movement. He did have some head movement, in my opinion, Coco. Well, he was some of the jabs, maybe it was because his eye was starting to hurt. He was just bobbing his head just offline, so the jabs weren't landing as flush some of the time. I thought there was definitely some more head movement. He seems a lot more stationary when he's out of range. Doesn't move his head then. I'd agree with that, but I think there was a little bit more head movement than we're used to seeing from Dubois, but it certainly wasn't enough. He could have moved his head a lot more. And like I was saying, he could have got those hands up a little bit higher to try and block more of those jabs. But this is just my opinion. This is why I want to get somebody else on to give their opinion of it. I haven't re-watched the fight yet, but we'll see. The man got beat with one punch. Yeah, he did. But you know how the old saying goes, the right hand can take you around the block, but a jab can take you around the world. And Joyce was smart. He used that jab. He used his advantage. And he fully deserved the win, man. And yes, I got the pick wrong. I thought Joyce was going to try and come forward a lot more, as he usually does, with lack of defense, and I thought he would have eaten a lot of shots doing that, but he didn't do that. So, yeah, I can definitely admit when I'm wrong. Daniel definitely needs to learn how to adapt. If he's not going to try and block those jabs, he's got to find a way to not get hit by them so often, in my opinion. But he's only 23. He can come again, no problem. He definitely needs to sort out. I mean, his hands were like at his chest level all the time, so he could see what's coming. But if you're not going to get out of what you can see coming's way, you're going to eat it all night. So, yeah, it's just how it went. And like I said, I think Dubois did the smart thing by taking that knee and quitting. With a broken face bone, doesn't mean you're a pussy. Doesn't mean you're not a warrior. Kid's young and he's got some learning to do, man. He did have no answer, that's for sure. Also, yesterday we had that the Mike Tyson's what was it called? Legends Only League. That was entertainment, man. It was entertainment. Seen Buddy Jack go the distance with that guy. Can't remember his name. That dude's got a chin, man. That white tattooed dude. He's got a chin because he was getting pissed up by Buddy Jack. Big time. And he just kept coming. He kept trying to fight back. So you got to give him credit for that. But he was way out of his depth. Also, Jake Paul knocked out that basketball player. The basketball player dude rushing forward without his hands up paid the price. But that was kind of funny. I thought the show itself was really entertaining. It wasn't a standard boxing show, you know, having Snoop Dogg on the panel. We had Israel Adesanya in there doing a bit of commentating as well. It was cool. The main event, excuse me, Roy Jones and Mike Tyson. They looked okay for their age, but for me it was just a fun fight. You can see Mike was trying to do some real damage. Roy was trying to box on the outside, and if Mike got inside on him, he'd tie him up. It was a cuddle fest, but it was fun to watch. It's not something I went out of my way to watch. I just happened to have been doing nothing, so I chucked it on. And even my missus, who's not really into boxing, found it pretty entertaining. So, you know, that kind of show appeals to a lot of people. And I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it, to say the very least. I'm also caught, there was Tony Yoka and Christian Hammer on Saturday, New Zealand time. That also had Victor Vikhurst and Kamil Sokolovsky on it. That was interesting. I hadn't seen much of Victor Vikhurst, or Victor Valst as they're calling him now. But man, you could definitely see just the way he postures and the way he punches with his right hand and the way he moves forwards and backwards. He looks a lot like Vladimir Klitschko, but obviously not as in good a shape. The feet aren't quite as good. The right hand maybe is powerful, but the jab certainly isn't. And the fight went the distance for Sokolovsky. Sokolovsky's pretty tough. He did go down in was it the third round? It was only a 6 rounder. And I thought Victor Vikhurst could have stepped on the gas and got him out of there if he wanted to, but maybe he wanted to get some rounds in. That's the first time as a pro that he's gone the distance. But yeah, there's some promise there for Victor Vikhurst. He's a big dude. He's got a very heavy right hand. It was good to see a few body shots later on in the fight there as well. I'd like to see him go to the body a bit more, but I'd like to see him lose a bit more weight and get a bit more athletic so he can move a bit better. And yeah, he's got a pretty bright future as a heavyweight when he gets right into it. The main event of that card was Tony Yoka and Christian Hammer. And Christian Hammer used every dirty trick in the book to try and make it as difficult as he possibly could for Tony Yoka. And at times you could see Tony Yoka was not comfortable with the roughhouse tactics, the inside games. Tony was, when they're getting close, he'd try and put his head down a bit sometimes, and Christian Hammer would just lean on top of him, so Tony would just go to the ground. A lot of, in the clinch, there's some hitting behind the head at the start. I think the referee warned Christian Hammer at one point. I even saw some low blows in there that didn't get caught, didn't get picked up by the ref, and so on and so forth. But all in all, Tony came away with the win. He injured his hand throughout the fight at some point. Maybe that's why one of the cornermen was saying just tap, 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 just touch him, get the win, that's all important. At the time we didn't know about the injury, so I was thinking to myself, pour it on, Tony, pour it on, you can get him out of there. He did seem to hurt Hammer at times. But yeah, that's the story. It seems like he injured one of his hands. Maybe that's why he didn't try to go to town and get Hammer out of there. It would have been a bit of a statement if he could have got Hammer out of there. There ain't many people who have stopped him. And when Hammer comes to fight, he does come to fight, and even if it's dirty tactics, this time he did come to fight. So it is what it is. Tony still got the W, and he moves on to, looks like he's going to be fighting Petar Milas, a Croatian prospect who's on the rise. One of the only men to stop Kevin Johnson. But it was on cuts, that stoppage. Many people don't realise that, so it is what it is. But that apparently is going to be for some type of EBU title. Apparently Tony Yoka had been in purse bids already for that fight. So how long it's going to take for his hand injury to recover from, it's probably going to determine how long until we see that fight happen. But it was a pretty good debut performance from Tony Yoka. When I say debut, I mean on ESPN. That was his first televised fight under Top Rank. So yeah, I enjoyed that card as well. But all in all, it was a fairly decent weekend of boxing to watch. Danny Jacobs, oh man, did he look like arse. Absolute arse, man. if he fights like that against any of the top guys, you're gonna get knocked out, man. You're gonna get flattened. Didn't throw a lot of punches. Didn't look motivated. Didn't look like he really wanted to be there. It's the worst I've ever seen Danny Jacobs look against Gabe Rosado. And the scorecards came out pretty close in that. I think it was two judges had it 115, 113 to Jacobs, and one had it to Gabe Rosado, 115, 113. And I think we've also got to give Gabe Rosado a bit of credit. He looked sharper than I've seen him in a long time. And he needed to step it up because his career was going down the toilet. But yeah, interesting weekend, I think, man. Interesting weekend indeed. Looking at a few tech things here. Frank Warren. Better talk about that dude. I think he's a bit sour because his potential future cash cow got beat down. Even in the post-fight interview, there was no congratulations to Joe Joyce. There was no well done, Joe Joyce. It was all about, if Daniel hadn't suffered that injury, he might have won. Daniel's this, Daniel's that. I mean, your potential cash cow now is just another cow for now until he comes back and sorts himself out. If he gets back in the ring again after that substantial injury. Daniel Dubois is just another prospect. Nowadays, the hype train has been derailed for now. I'm not saying he can't come back and have a very illustrious career, as long as that he can still see out of that eye and he can still get a license to box again. But Frank Warren needs to get off his high horse and give Joe Joyce some kind of credit. I don't know what the deal is with Joyce, whether that may have been his last fight on Queensbury's books or something. Maybe that's why Frank's not giving him any credit, not giving him any kind of promotion. And Frank Warren is the one pushing for a rematch between Joyce and Dubois. None of that talk from Dubois himself. And Joe Joyce is talking about he wants to fight Alexander Usyk. I assume he means if Joshua vacates that WBO belt, he'd want that fight. I don't think that's a good idea for Joe Joyce. I mean, it's a title shot for a vacant title, so yeah, why not? But when it comes to the fight styles and how it would go, I think Usyk will just box Joe's ears off like he did in the World Series of Boxing years ago. He played with Joyce in that one, and this tactic that Joyce used against Dubois, using that jab, ain't gonna work with Usyk, because he ain't gonna stand there and eat those jabs like Weet-Bix all night. He'll move his head all night. He's very good at getting his head off the line and countering with multiple shots once that jab has been thrown. So that's what I think would happen if that happened, but I think it's most likely that Joshua is going to end up fighting Usyk, and Joyce is going to be ordered to fight the winner of Junior Farr and Joseph Parker, because Parker's number 3 at the moment. Joyce should be moving up to number 2 after his win over Dubois. But the question for Farr and Parker is that fight going to happen in time before the WBO are going to order a mandatory? I guess once this Pulev and Joshua fight is out of the way, WBO are going to order Joshua fight Usyk within 120 days. As they do, it's how the mandatories work, and Joshua is going to have to decide whether he's gonna make that fight with Usyk within the 120 days. I don't think they mean have the fight within 120 days. They mean make the fight within 120 days. He'll have 120 days to decide whether he wants to vacate or take on Usyk. And if he takes on Usyk, then the WBO will wait until after that fight is finished before ordering a final eliminator between Joyce and whoever is going to be number 3 at the time. So it's a little bit away yet, and the way things are going, Junior Far's health, he's just had surgery last week for an undisclosed condition. We just don't know whether that fight's actually going to happen in time or if at all. Would love to see Parker Joyce. It would be interesting. It would definitely be interesting because yeah, I don't think Joyce would be able to break down Parker as easily. Parker can move and evade. He's quicker than Dubois in my opinion, both with feet and hands. So it could be interesting. I think the question would be, will Joseph have the gas tank with so much evasive movement? And what's he going to look like against Joyce? Because we know against a tall guy like similar stature to Anthony Joshua, the last time he fought someone like that, he was evasive all night and didn't really have any offense. Had a little bit, but his new attitude is he wants to bring out a bit more bulldog. So I guess we will find out a bit more if that Junior Farr and Junior Joseph Parker fight ever happens. But yeah, I would like to see Parker and Joyce fight for the mandatory. That would be cool. That would be awesome. But if that Parker and Joyce fight actually happens, Parker and Farr fight actually happens, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the rankings. Because this fight between Joyce and Dubois, what was Joyce actually? Have a quick look. I think he was like number 11 or something in the WBO. Bringing it up, give me a sec here. And where is he? Yeah, he was 11. So Daniel Dubois was number 2. Joyce was 11. Joseph Parker number 3 and Junior Farr number 6. I guess because Joyce beat the number 2, that might keep Joyce at number 2. If Dubois had beaten Joyce and Parker had beaten Farr, I'd assume that Parker would jump in front of Dubois. But because Joyce won, he beat the guy who's ranked above Parker, then even if Parker beats Junior Farr, I don't think he'll jump up to number 2. But a lot of it, I think, also will have how much influence is Frank Warren going to have. You know, I think Daniel Dubois only got that number 2 ranking in the first place because of Frank Warren's absolute love for Daniel Dubois. And he's made it quite clear in his post-fight interviews and in media since the fight that he doesn't really give two craps about Joe Joyce. So is he going to try and push to see what... Man, Joe Joyce might not even get up to number 2 in the rankings next time they refresh it, even though he's beaten the number 2. It's going to be interesting when the WBO refresh their rankings. We'll see what happens. We got Blackout in the house. What up, man? Good to have you in. Yeah, just yarning about what went on over the weekend and potentially what could happen in the future with Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois and so on and so forth. If anybody wants to jump on, there is a link up the top of the chat. It's pinned at the top there so everyone can see it and it won't disappear. I'd like to get some opinions about whether anybody thinks Daniel Dubois is a pussy for quitting, or was it smart? And what does everybody think he could do better, besides move his head a bit more, obviously, to avoid that jab? Was he a hype job all along? What do y'all reckon, man? What do y'all reckon? But yeah, I think Frank Warren's pretty sour at the moment. His potential cash cow has just been turned into a normal cow. Moo. It's quite disappointing that so many people are just jumping on saying Daniel Dubois was a hype job, Daniel Dubois this, Daniel Dubois that. What about Joe Joyce? He won the freaking fight, man. He beat a dangerous prospect. Where's the credit for Joe Joyce? Is it so hard to give the winner credit? I don't get it, man. Honestly, I don't get it. No worries, Stephen. It's all good, brother. Email address. It should just be your old account, Marla or Steven. You should be able to just jump on with your old Marla account. It doesn't matter whether it's blocked on YouTube or not. Discord has nothing to do with YouTube. Dubois was actually winning rounds. He wasn't fighting that badly. No, I don't think he was. It was just the defense against that jab, and that jab, I thought watching it didn't look like it was that hard a jab most of the time. I saw every now and then it looked like Joyce was landing it with his arm fully extended every now and then, but it looked like a bit of just a touch jab for quite a while. But I've heard many people say it, and it's the same with his right hand as well. Because he's so slow, it doesn't look like it's the damaging punches. But somehow, the thudding of them just does damage. He's so slow, but he must be just so strong. The jab, it looked like an arm punch a lot of the time. It didn't look like he was fully extending it and stepping into it. I thought Dubois' jab, when he threw it, looked nice and snappy and crisp and powerful. But Joyce's jab looked lazy, it looked slow. But man, it must have done some damage. Started caving in Dubois' face, so it's a bit of a weapon, but it doesn't look like it is. It's deceiving. The volume of Joyce was always going to be an issue, I think, too. As I was scoring on my live, I was saying, look, that volume of Joyce's jab could have possibly won him the rounds, but they just didn't look like they were effective punches because they look so slow and they look like tap, tap, tap. But there's got to be more to them if you're going to cave someone's faces in with it, right? They got to give Joe Joyce credit, and I'm disappointed that a lot of people aren't. They're just concentrating on the negatives and why Daniel Dubois didn't win, whereas they should be giving Joe Joyce credit for actually winning. Mr. Boxing Today in the house. Nice to have you in, brother. Link up the top if you wanted to jump on and have a yarn. But yeah, Frank Warren having his little suki lalas is kind of cracking me up a bit. I don't like that dude. And to me, it's got to be because Joyce's contract must almost be up or something. It's weird that he doesn't want to give Joe Joyce credit. Credit to Joe Joyce. Good on you, brother. Thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate that, Mr. Boxing. Appreciate that lots. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got to say about that fight. We're waiting to hear news on how Daniel Dubois is going to recover. It's going to be some time. I don't think we'll see him in the ring for at least, well, he probably won't even be in the gym again for at least 3 to 4 months. So, hopefully he's going to be okay. Hopefully there's not too much nerve damage, if any. Hopefully he can still see properly, and hopefully he can get a boxing license again, because he is exciting to watch, man. He is exciting to watch. Whether you think he was a hype job or not makes no difference to me. Dude can punch. He's got some work to do with his defense. Like I said earlier, I want to see those hands a bit higher so he can at least block those jabs. If he ain't going to move his head much, he needs to do something to avoid getting hit by the bigger guys with the longer reach. Victor Vickhurst, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of him. But like I said about him, I'd like to see him lose a bit more weight so he can move a bit better. Work on his jab a bit more. He seems to concentrate a lot on the left hook and the right hand. But it was nice to see somebody who kind of fights like Vladimir Klitschko, throwing a few body shots here and there. I like to see him work on some more body shots as well. Tony Yoka, moving forward, he's got to recover from his hand injury, but I expect we will get a confirmation in the next couple of months about him fighting Peter Milas. It's a decent fight, that one. Peter Milas is a game fighter, so he's like the number 2 in Croatia behind Filip Hrgovic. I'd like to see that fight, and credit to Tony Yoka. He getting it done, man. He getting it done. Taking on Johan Dorper, then Christian Hammer, and then an unbeaten prospect on the rise, and Peter Milas. That boy moving. If he keeps moving like that and keeps getting wins in, he could be looking at a title shot by the end of 2022, no problem. Possibly even before that, depending on how he goes with rankings and whatnot. It's, yeah. And as for Mike and Roy Jones, I don't mind seeing them do it again, but I'd rather see Mike against someone else. It seems Mike's pretty keen to do another show like that. He's trying to push Roy into doing it again. I don't know if Roy's that keen. After taking a couple of shots from Mike, he decided, yeah, every shot hurts. He was saying in the post-fight interview. So we'll see what happens there, but that was a real entertaining show. I think it does have a place for maybe one proper professional fighter on the card, and then celebrities and social media guys like Jake Paul and whatnot as well. So it's all good in the hood. All right, you made it on, brother.
Yeah, I have a lot of hassles with Discord, man. Because sometimes when I go to click on and get in there, it'll say, "Oh, your email's already." It goes, "Claim the account," but then it goes, "Oh no, the email's already registered." I have a lot of hassles with it. It drives me nuts.
Punk thing. Okay.
Yeah, but never mind. But yeah, the fights, man. I was hard on Dubois. I have to admit, when I saw him go down, I thought, mate, what are you doing? Don't quit now. I had him winning rounds. He wasn't fighting as badly. He was putting some good work on Joyce through that fight. It wasn't the way people are talking. You'd think it was lopsided.
Yeah, well,
I thought
even on my live, I said, "Oh, what he quit? What did he quit for?" But at the time, we didn't know he had a broken orbital bone.
Yeah, it looked bad. It looked like a real. I take it back. If he had a fracture to the bone is in a fragile state. If he keeps getting hit there, it could dislodge and get driven in. Yeah. Well, so yeah, I don't hold it against him if that's the case, Yeah,
for sure. It's like a crack in an eggshell.
Yep.
You know, if you hold an egg in your hand, flat in your palm, and you squeeze as hard as you can, it's damn near impossible to break it. But you put one little tiny crack in it, you can crush it. Easy.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So I don't hold that against him. And the thing is, what does it mean for him going forward? Because he's going to have plates in there like Cal Brook, and it's, you know, will he be worried about it? You know, when he goes into fights, it's not good for him, man. 23 years old, and yeah, very unfortunate for him.
Definitely. And also, you know, the nerves inside your skull and whatnot. Is he going to still have the same durability? Even if he has a steel plate in there, could be issues. But this is all assuming that he can even get a boxing license again. He might be partially blind in one eye for all we know yet.
Oh, that's right. We're going to have to wait to see. Yeah, just see how it plays out. But yeah, I actually thought he was fighting well in the fight. Like before the fight, I actually thought my pick was he was going to get a TKO on Joyce around 6 to 10. I thought he wouldn't have a problem finding Joyce and landing punches, and that proved to be the case. He landed some good shots, but Joyce soaked him up. He just soaked the punches up. He really did. And I felt, and in the end, Dubois was actually hitting Joyce with some good jabs.
He was.
Yeah, he was getting some jabs in there, but in the end, Joyce's jab just kept landing, and it must be a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like it, eh? Like I was saying,
No.
it looks like it's a tap jab, but to bust someone's face like that, there's got to be something in it, man.
Yep. So good on Joyce. He won. I tell you what, I'd love to see Joyce Parker.
It's a good fight.
Because Parker, Parker's faster than Dubois.
Yeah, much quicker, and I think he moves his head a lot better to get out of the way of punches and whatnot. So Joyce would have to bring something a little bit different, I think. He wouldn't be able to just stick behind the jab all night. But,
Parker's had the big match experience too.
Yeah, even if he did kind of fail a bit under the lights the first time against Joshua, but you know,
he still fought Dillian. Fought Dillian White. He's fought Ruiz, Takam. You know, he still had some more. He's got a more solid resume than Dubois does.
Yeah, well, all going well. Like I was saying before, if Usyk ends up fighting Joshua, hopefully Joe can beat Far, and we can get that fight ordered for the mandatory position for the next rotation.
Yeah, man,
will make sense, but we'll see what happens with the rankings too. Because also, like I was saying, I don't know how much influence Frank Warren's going to push the WBO with Joe Joyce. Whether he's even got him under contract after that fight or not's another question too. So,
yeah, I thought. I didn't see that fight. What fight was it? Danny Jacobs. I haven't seen it. Apparently, he was terrible.
Don't go and bother, mate. Don't go and bother.
It was that bad.
Very low output from both guys. Danny just looked like he didn't want to be there, man.
Mate.
It was sad to see, but at the same time, Gabe Rosado's got to get a bit of credit because he looked a lot sharper than I thought he'd looked in a long time. So, you know, compounding issues, and Danny just got away with a win by the skin of his teeth. So he's lucky, but I think his stock probably went down a bit after that performance. But
I've gathered that everyone who I've read talking about it, they've been pretty scathing. But what was the other fight I watched? Tony Yoka. That was an average fight. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. Tradesman sort of performance.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks from Hammer in there to make it uncomfortable for Yoka, but
Yoka's he used his experience.
Yeah, Yoka still come away with the win, which is the most important thing. But I thought Yoka was going to stop him, but apparently he suffered a hand injury, so it is what it is.
Okay.
He moves on with the win.
Yeah, he would have been holding back on the power if he's got a hand injury.
Yeah.
But hey, I've got to jump off for 5 minutes. I've just got some groceries have arrived, mate.
No worries, bro. Sweet as.
I'll jump off for 5 and I'll be back in a sec.
Sweet as. No worries. I'm just looking at Hannibal in the chat where it says live panel Steven. Link to join. Discord and the top of the... Anyone looking to join? Yeah, that's it, man. It's all up the top there. Thanks, Hannibal. If anybody wants to jump on, just click on it and it'll take you to Discord. If you don't have a Discord account, you just have to do enter your email. They'll send you an email, confirm the email, and you're away. It's pretty easy to get it all sorted. Man, the Solo S in the house. What's up, man? Good to have you in. Very disappointed in Dubois. I think he has some heart questions now. No, yeah. I don't know. He seemed to be fighting okay to me. And his face having a broken orbital bone, he had that bust in his face for like 4 or 5 rounds before he stopped. So I think it takes a decent amount of heart to go that far when your face is pretty much caved in. You know, Frank Warren keeps saying if Dubois hadn't had a broken face, he could have pulled out a win, and I agree. But the fact is, Joe Joyce broke his face and broke him down. So Daniel's got to do some readjusting to be able to stop getting caught with a jab all night and not being able to adapt to getting out of the way of it or blocking it or something. He's got to do something to stop getting smashed in the face, and then he won't get a broken face. 2 more rounds. You know, Warren was gonna have him win. Yeah, well, one of those judges said his card said Dubois had 7 or 8 rounds out of the 9 rounds prior to the 10th. But nah, man, no way. So that points out corruption, and Frank's put some money in his pocket or something to me. I mean, I had it 5-4 after 9 to Dubois, and I wouldn't argue with anybody saying 5-4 to Joyce either. I mean, there was a couple of close rounds in there. The volume of the jab versus the heavy overhand rights from Dubois. Depends what you like most. To me, like I've been saying through the stream, it didn't look like Joyce's jab was effective enough to outweigh the heavy eye-catching shots that Dubois was landing at times. So some of those rounds could have gone either way, but I don't believe there's any way in hell that Dubois would... Yeah, you're back. I'm just talking about the scorecards here. There was one judge there that had like 7 or 8 rounds to Dubois before the stoppage.
I heard that, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, where you go?
I actually thought he was winning the fight.
Yeah, I thought
I actually had Dubois ahead.
Yeah, by 1 or 2 rounds or something like that.
Yeah. I had a close fight, but I actually had him ahead, and that's why when he took that knee, I was like, "What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? Just keep going."
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how bad his eye was.
So after 9, you would have had him either 5-4 or 6-3.
Yeah.
So but this other judges had Dubois either 7-2 or 8-1.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke, mate.
Yeah.
You know, Joyce was being a lot more competitive than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of corruption there. I mean, one of the judges, the other 2 had 5-4 and 6-3. So I think those were close. Well, did one of them have? No, one of them had Joyce ahead 5-4, and the other one was 6-3 Dubois. So I got no questions about those judges. They're fine. But I'm gonna do some investigating and see which other judge it was. Actually, the one who had that card, that crazy card. Just bring it up now. Hopefully, it's on BoxRec by now.
I tell you what, the Tyson Roy Jones, man, I really didn't like it, and I was actually talking today on a podcast about it, and I just feel like fact that we are watching Mike Tyson and Roy Jones in their 50s on a pay-per-view and people are getting excited about it is an indictment on where boxing's at right now. You know what I mean? We can't get Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua undefeated in a super fight. We can't get Crawford Spence. We got Pacquiao Mayweather 5 years too late, but we're getting Mike Tyson and Roy Jones in their 50s on a pay-per-view.
20 years too late.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's an indictment on where boxing is.
Yeah.
To me, I didn't pay for it. I did watch the stream. Yeah, I saw it in that, but it's just to me, it's just an indictment on boxing, man. I really feel that way.
Yeah, I watched it and I enjoyed it, but my expectations of it were not like I was excited about seeing these two guys finally fight or anything like that. It's, you know, I'd keep it real. It's like two old legends. They're gonna look old. They're not gonna look flash. It's for fun. So. And I actually enjoyed like the Jake Paul fiasco and the Badu Jack fight more than I did the main event, to be honest.
That Nate Robinson, he got poleaxed, eh?
He did. He got totally poleaxed.
I just watched that about 10 minutes ago, man. I went on YouTube and saw it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking at the scorecards here. We've got 88 to 82, so that's what's that? That's 7. Is it 7-2 after 9 rounds to Daniel Dubois, and that was John Latham was the judge. What do we got? Victor Lachlan had Joyce ahead, 87-84. So that's quite wide too. That's only one difference. And Mark Lyson had Dubois ahead, 86-85. That's the scorecard I had.
Yeah, it was close. That was a close fight, eh? Tough competitive fight, man.
Yeah.
I thought Dubois. I mean, I watched Joe Joyce Stavern, and I watched that fight the other day, and I thought to myself, you know, Dubois is going to have no issues finding this guy's chin. He's going to land shots on him. I thought he would be able to grind Joyce down, even though I knew Joyce had a good chin. I thought he'd be able to, but Joyce, he took the shots, he soaked them up. It looked like he soaked them up pretty easy.
I haven't watched that Stavern one in a while, but from what I remember, Joyce was coming forward a lot harder against Stavern, wasn't he? So I think it might have been a lot easier to hit him when he was fighting like that. In this one, he seemed to be trying to maintain distance a lot more.
He did.
So, I mean, when Dubois did throw his right hand, most of the time it was landing and landing good. So, like you say, Joyce was soaking it up pretty well. And like he said in the post-fight interview, you know, I don't like taking those punches, but I can. So, you know, having a chin like that's a big attribute. But
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised with Dubois. He didn't even parry the jab.
No,
just, you know,
he seemed to have his hands just that little bit too low, or when he saw it coming, the hands didn't come up and try and parry it. He just ate it.
Just ate it all night, and you could see his eye. Even from the first few rounds, you could just see a slight bit of swelling, and then it just got worse and worse. And Joe Joyce was smart. He probably would have seen it and kept working it.
Oh, that's exactly what he did. I mean, after taking a couple of those Dubois shots, he probably thought to himself, I don't want to eat these all night. I've got to do something. And I think that's why he just started sticking behind that jab a hell of a lot more. So yeah, big credit to Joyce, man. Big credit to Joyce.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. The other fight that was on that Jones and Tyson fight, did you see that one, the Badu Jack one?
No.
Okay.
I saw the Tyson one, and I seen the one where the guy got poleaxed. Yeah.
The other one, Badu Jack, the guy he was fighting was way out of his league, and he was pacing up this dude, but this dude just didn't go down and kept coming back with shots every now and then. It was encouraging from a guy who's he's really a club fighter against a world class fighter. It was fun to watch. It was a bit brutal even. Some of the commentators were saying halfway through the fight, should this be stopped? Should this be stopped? But then the guy comes back and lands a big right hand, and it's like, whoa, he's coming back, left hook to the body as well. So it was fun, man. It was fun.
I'll have to check it out. It should be on YouTube, I think. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah,
But,
if it's not up by now, it'll be up by the end of the day. Someone will upload it. It was interesting.
I'm just looking for Anthony Joshua. When's the Pulev fight? A couple of weeks?
Was it next weekend?
Anthony
I can't remember the
Joshua.
date.
Just on Boxing Rec now, the 12th of December.
Yeah, next weekend. Oh,
Oh,
no,
sweet.
it's the 5th this weekend, isn't it? So it's the weekend
Yeah,
after.
so it'll be two weeks. Yeah, it'll be good to get that fight out of the way, and then hopefully we can see Anthony Joshua step up and get some better fights going. Because I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua fight. Pulev is a mandatory, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got to do it unless
He
he
has to
wants.
fight Pulev.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why some people on some of the chats are slagging AJ off for the fight. He has to fight him, so he's just getting it out of the way. It's done. Once he's done it, good, you know.
Yeah, and he's a champion holding 3 belts, so he's got three sanctioning bodies to satisfy with mandatories that the guys have earned. And they might not be fights we want to see, but if you want to see undisputed, then these guys have to fulfill these obligations to hang on to the belts. Otherwise, we're not going to see undisputed.
That's right.
So
it was like when Bud Crawford. It was like when Bud Crawford fought the Green Machine, or I think they called him, and he was a mandatory. Called him the Green Machine.
Oh, was that Aussie guy?
No, I think. Hang on.
You mean
I just remember when Bud
at welterweight or 140? Were you talking about?
at welterweight.
Okay.
At welterweight. It was only about it was about 2 fights back for Bud.
Yeah, I can't think who it
It
was.
was
off the
it was a
top of my head.
mandatory. It was a mandatory, and people I've just found. Hang on, it was the guy had a weird name, Carver something. It's a real weird name. I think that's why everyone just calls him the Green Machine or something.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it was it was a mandatory, and everyone was criticizing Bud for fighting him. It's like, well, he had to.
Yeah,
It's like, what the hell, you know?
silly. These are one of the things we're not always gonna see the fights we want with the champions. These guys, like I say, they earn their shot. They deserve to get their shot, and the champion has to defend against the guys who've earned their shot. So,
Yep.
Meh. I mean,
Just getting.
I'll sit and watch Pulev get beaten up,
Yeah.
but it's not the fight
I'm
I
gonna
want to
watch
see
it.
either.
No, but yeah, I'm going to watch it though. You know, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the rankings. We got WBO. It's Anthony Joshua. And you got Usyk number 1, Daniel Dubois 2, Parker 3, and is Joe Joyce in there anyway? He's 11.
Yeah,
He's 11.
he'll go way
So
up
he'll-
after they refresh.
He'll go way up.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Um,
yeah, all going well. If Anthony Joshua threw that WBO belt, fought Fury, he'd probably end up with
Usyk
and
Joyce,
someone fight
probably.
Usyk Joyce.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to see where Joyce
We'll
gets
see.
put into. Yeah. But beating the
And then-
number 2, I'd imagine it makes sense to me that he'd be number 2.
Yes, yep. It's unfortunate for Parker, and then Parker will hopefully beat Junior Farr. He should do, and then Parker could end up getting a title shot for the WBO belt again.
Yeah, well, he'd have to fight if Joyce ends up fighting Usyk, Parker will end up fighting a final eliminator against whoever's going to be next in line.
Yeah.
Once that Usyk and Joshua fight's complete. But yeah, lot to see what happens. Eh?
Yeah, well, they got these vaccines coming out near the end of this year, and it looks like the UK is going to get one. So if they got the vaccine to distribute, they might feel more comfortable having crowds at sports events. So the promoters might feel more inclined to really push the issue and get some of these big fights on.
Yeah. for sure.
So yeah, so we might be able to see it. I saw Bob Arum said Spence Crawford is just a no-go at the moment.
No,
If you can't have a crowd, there's just no way you can have it. So yeah, so we just got to hope that we can get some crowds back next year and we can get some of the big stuff.
yeah. Well, was it Bob Arum saying he's losing money trying to get Terence Crawford fights? So
he's been scathing of Bud, man,
he is.
publicly.
He is. It's not a good look, man. It's not a good look.
No.
And come the end of Terrence's contract, well, if Bob's gonna publicly do this sort of crap, Bud ain't gonna hang around. Then
No, that's right, man. Yeah.
when there is crowds and he can get big fights against other title holders, Bob's not going to have any cash flow from it because he's stuck his own foot in his mouth, dickhead.
Oh, he has. He's absolutely burned Bud. I mean, he could talk to Bud behind closed doors, but god damn, don't go public with it, man, and slag your own guy off.
Well, apparently
Jeez.
he got all pissy about it because Bud's lawyer published an email or something about when Bud's contract expires, which was not supposed to be public knowledge. So that's why he's gotten all pissy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This Joshua Pulev card has got a couple of other heavyweight dust-ups on it. We got Huey Fury and Marius Vuk on there.
Yeah.
What do you think of that one? Will you stay awake for that one?
Yeah, I would watch it. I would watch that. Yep.
I think it'd be.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'd watch it, but I would. I think it's probably because Huey Fury. He's fought Parker.
Yeah.
He's fought a few names. So yeah, it does attract me enough that I'd watch it. Yeah.
I think it's not a bad fight for Huey, provided Marius Vuk comes to fight. If he comes to fight, then it could be worth, keeping your eyes open for, and might not put you to sleep. And I think Huey should be able to box Vuk's ears off pretty much. He's getting old and pretty slow, but if Huey gets caught with a shot from Vuk, he can pop. So yeah. But
I'm just looking.
The best fight on the card, I think, is that Martin Bakole and Sergey Kuzmin.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun dust up. But,
when's Alexander Povetkin's Dillian White's rematch?
They're looking
Got put back.
January 30th, I think, was
January. Oh, okay. Yep.
End of January.
You got Michael Hunter fighting Chauncey Welliver. Remember Chauncey?
Yeah, Chauncey Welliver. As soon as I saw that on a live stream when I was on the other day, I was like, oh, Michael, no. I thought you were supposed to be fighting Filip Hrgovic, but Filip Hrgovic's got to tune up against some low-level fighter as well. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. I'm going to look it up.
It's going to be interesting if I look at the WBO welterweight rankings. Sean Porter's ranked number 1 with the WBO. So if he gets a mandatory spot, you could see Crawford having to fight him. Reckon that could happen?
I think that one will definitely go to Perth, but if it does get made, because I can't see PBC, can't see Al Heyman and Bob Arum working a deal out for that. I don't know. We may be surprised. I mean, Heyman and Arum work together for the Fury fights, so why can't they do it for other fights?
Yeah. Oh, there's some good fights to be made at 140 pounds and 147, eh?
Yes.
You got Prograis in there, Josh Taylor, Ramirez. Some really exciting matchups, man, if they could get them happening.
Yeah.
That Prograis fight with Josh Taylor was good, eh?
It was indeed. Hasn't Prograis just had a win over someone else recently too, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He got a good stoppage.
Yeah. So he's back on a winning form. Who would you like to see Prograis fight?
Boy, I wouldn't mind seeing another fight with Josh Taylor
Again, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like, I watched the first one. I think I from memory, I just gave it to Josh.
Okay.
It was 115, 113, I think I scored it. I gave it to Josh, not by a lot, It was close, but I gave it to him. So I would love to see them have another go. It was very competitive.
It was competitive. I can't remember what I scored it, but I definitely gave Taylor the fight. I might have had it 116, 112 or something like that even, but still pretty close to your score as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely worth watching. And I'll watch it again. There's not a hell of a lot of fights that I really like to watch of the smaller weight divisions, but when you get fights like that, you know they're going to be competitive before they happen. I'm definitely into those. Definitely. I just looked up Filip Hrgovic and he hasn't got a confirmed fight yet, but he's definitely fighting someone else, and that's why Michael Hunter went and sorted out something else for himself.
Okay.
But Michael Hunter, Chauncey Wolliver.
Yeah, terrible, eh?
That's terrible.
It was like Parker, they're looking at January, February, apparently, for his fight. So he can get that out of the way, hopefully win well. And then, I'd love to see him fight, Joyce, or I don't know what Dillian White's up to. I've always wanted to see a rematch with Dillian because that fight pissed me off.
Yep, definitely. I'm in that same boat.
Yeah, man. He got away with murder in that fight, Dillian. Parker's got to fight him again, and he's got to learn his lesson from the first fight, and he's got to be prepared to get dirty.
Yeah, bring out some Bulldog, man. Bring out
mate.
some Bulldog. Who else we got?
I'm
just looking at the rankings for potential fights for Parker after Far, if he beats Far. Pulev won't stay at 4. Ruiz is there again too. That's another fight I want to see a rematch of.
Oh, definitely, mate. That'd be good. What's Ruiz doing, eh? Is he training? It's almost like he's semi-retired.
Apparently he's trying to get a tune-up with Chris Areola. And then he wanted to fight Luis Ortiz after that, but we'll see what happens.
That'd be a good fight, Ortiz and Ruiz. I'd watch that.
So too, yeah. I'd enjoy that. Well, I'd even enjoy Michael Hunter Ruiz. Would be a good one too, and they're both ranked similarly in the WBO. Or even Ruiz Shizora is another good one I'd like to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be good.
There's a lot of fights out there that could happen, but
it's the thing with the heavyweights these days. People say, "Oh, it's weak." And all this, and there's not a lot of quality there. But there's some really good fights to be made in the heavyweights these days. They're just not being made.
Well, there's definitely some strong fighters, like you say, but we're just getting the weak matchups.
That's right. They're just not making the fights. The fights are there.
Everybody seems to want to tread so carefully these days to get themselves to a title shot, rather than, these guys that are inside top 15s, if they just fight 2 fights against guys that are inside those rankings, they got a title shot, just like that.
and they cash up and then they get lazy.
Yeah, but that's.
There's definitely some good fights out there. When you match the guys up, there's some real good matchups out there, man. Real good stuff, you know.
I guess it's just the evolution of what boxing is these days compared to what it used to be 20 years ago. It's hard for people. It's hard for people to accept. It's hard for me to accept.
I grew up in that era watching those guys, and I mean, when you think of Marvin Hagler, Hearns, Leonard Duran, Barclay, they all fought each other. I mean, in the 90s, all the heavyweights pretty much fought each other. Tony fought Roy Jones in their primes, and these fights got made so easily.
Yeah.
It was none of this bullshit. That's why I get so frustrated. I was online talking to some guys about Spence Crawford, and I got so mad, and I said to them, look, you're all sitting here talking about who's the A side and who's the B side and who deserves what. It's like we went through that with AJ and Wilder, and we didn't get the fight. Now you're repeating the same stuff with Spence and Crawford, and we're going to end up with the same result. We won't get that fight either.
Or if we do get it, it'll end up too late. Yeah,
it's this A side, B side stuff. When I grew up watching the fights, you didn't talk about A side and B side. None of the fans talked, but no one cared.
No.
The fights got made, and you found out who was better, and the fighters got paid what they got paid. As a fan, you didn't care what they got paid. It was none of your business.
This is one of the reasons why the legacies of that era of fighters is so rich. We remember it because they all just fought each other, and they were, they wanted to get in there and prove themselves rather than, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to take the risk against this guy because it might damage my career path. So
It's shocking.
this is
It's
boxing.
just terrible, man.
It's boxing more than politics, not politics more than boxing.
Yeah, and the fans have changed too. And it's like, I thought about this, back in the day, we all had our favourite fighters, but we knew at some point they were going to lose a fight because they were always fighting top-level people.
Yeah.
So when our guy lost, we didn't take it badly. It was just part of the gig. These days, these younger fight fans, they are not used to seeing their guy fight another top-level guy. So when their guy loses, the conspiracies start.
Yeah.
When you look at AJ when he lost to Ruiz, it was like, oh, I knew he wasn't right when he was walking out to the ring, and the way he was moving his mouth guard, they were massaging his neck. Like, there was nothing wrong with AJ. He was winning those first 3 rounds. It was business as usual. He walked into a left hook. He made a tactical mistake. He got concussed in that 3rd round. I have no doubt by the end of that round he was concussed, and the fight got away from him.
Yeah.
There was no conspiracy. He just got caught with a good left hook and stunned, and then Ruiz followed up with more punches. He did his job. It was like Fury, Wilder. There is no conspiracy. Fury is a multi-dimensional fighter. Wilder is a one-dimensional fighter, and it caught up with Wilder.
Yep.
There's no conspiracy. He's been living off that right hand. It gave him a degree of success, but when you're a one-trick pony, days are numbered. At some point, someone is going to get you. It was like Ronda Rousey. She had a good ground game, but nothing else. She had success, but once the girls worked her out, she got wasted.
Yep.
Now, you know what I mean? And there's just no conspiracy. But the fans, they just can't accept that their guy lost. So you just get all these conspiracies. It's just crazy, man.
Definitely. Yep, that's boxing sometimes. There's no need for the excuses. It's only going to damage your profile, damage your potential earnings in the future. And I think particularly Wilder's gone way over the top with it. I thought it might have calmed down a bit by now.
Yeah, it's got worse.
It's gotten worse.
I can't believe it, man. God, it's awful.
I just seen an article here on Boxing Scene about Mike Tyson on Wilder excuses. It's just the process we go through. It'll be all right. It's going to be all right. This is the title of it. I haven't read it, but
yeah.
The process.
Funny. I was thinking. Okay, man.
The process is dragging out, Mike. We don't want it that long. But where you go, Mike?
I know, it's terrible. I was actually thinking yesterday about Mike Tyson in his prime, fight like the late 80s or even the early 90s, fighting Deontay. And do you know what fight I thought of? Mike Tyson. Jose Revolta. You remember that fight? It was Tyson was coming up. He was a big, tall guy. It's the only guy that Tyson stopped him in the 10th round. He was a big, tall guy, and Tyson was about 19 when he fought him. It was before he first won a title. And he was a big, tall guy. He's at 6'5" or so. But Mike was working him to the body and just hitting him with clean power shots to the head. And I thought to myself, have you ever watched Mike Tyson, Jose Revolta? You watch that fight, that is how I think a fight would go with Tyson and Deontay Wilder, but it would end even sooner.
I'm going to have to look it up. I can't remember that one off the top of my head. But Jose what?
Mike would have destroyed Jose.
Yeah.
Jose or Jose and Revolta, Ribalta.
ALTA. Right. I'll watch that after I'm finished on the stream.
If you watch that fight, man, it would have been what would have happened if Tyson had fought Wilder, but it wouldn't have gone 10 rounds. It would have ended quicker. Mike would have gotten... his only hope for Wilder would be to catch Mike at range with that right hand. Mike got in on him. He will just destroy Deontay.
Yeah.
He'd just destroy him on the inside, man. Oh, mate. But I was watching...
There you go.
I was watching that fight, though, I was watching Revolta, and I thought, Deontay. I thought, man, Tyson would have just killed him, mate.
Yeah, I have to watch a bit more of Revolta before I watch the fight, just to see what he's actually like before he has to face Mike Tyson. See if he's anything like Wilder.
But I just mean the height.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Mike had and Wilder got no inside game. He's got no inside fight, and Mike on the inside against him, Jesus, mate, and he's got no defense.
Yeah.
Mike was not having any problems hitting Revolta.
Okay.
And I thought about Wilder, no inside fight and no defense. Jesus, Mike would have just torn him up, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just see Adam Fahey in the chat. War Joyce. I'm not sure what that's about, but it makes me think Derek Chisora versus Joe Joyce. That's a good fight.
Yeah. It is. That's a real good one.
That's a mean fight. I guess that's what he means. Carry on.
Yeah. What do you think of Andy Ruiz, Dillian White? I actually think Ruiz would knock him out.
Andy Ruiz, Dillian White.
Yeah, I actually think he would knock Dillian out.
Oh yeah,
whether it was a KO or a TKO, I actually think Ruiz would be too fast for him, would stop him.
Yeah, guys like Povetkin, like Ruiz, that are considerably smaller than White. He's got to keep on the outside. I mean, Dillian's got a nice inside left uppercut and left hook, but I think he gets overconfident with these smaller guys. It's not the way to go. He has to use his big knuckle dragging arms to keep those guys out, and his fighting instinct gets the best of him at times. And that's the downfall. And I agree. I think Ruiz would get inside on him and knock him spark out. Not necessarily with one punch like Povetkin, but more likely a combination of 4 or 5 punches.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Because White's feet aren't fast enough to get out of there quick enough against somebody like that. Even though Ruiz has got slow feet, once he's inside, by the time you decide, okay, I don't want him to be in here, I'll move out, he's already thrown 5 punches.
That's right, yeah, man. Yeah, that's right. So, I would pick Ruiz to get him. See, Dillian's got a good reach, eh? What would it be, 80-inch reach or something? He's got a considerable reach, He could be fighting from the outside.
Might even be 82-inch reach.
He's got long arms.
Crazy. That's what I mean. Knuckle dragging arms, they're massive. Like, kind of like Brian Jennings. He's only 6'3", but he's got 84-inch reach or something crazy like that.
I'm just looking at Dillian here. What's he got? Oh, well, it says 78, but they look longer than that.
He's got longer arms than that, man. Yeah,
man. That's what I was thinking. Because Parker's got a 78-inch reach.
That's right. I remember seeing, because they first measured Parker when he fought Anthony Joshua. They actually measured him because it says on BoxRec he's got a 76-inch reach. Well, they measured him and he was 78 on the AJ show. And then they must have measured Dillian on that show, on the Parker one as well. And I'm sure it said 82. I'm not sure. I can't remember though. It might have been 80.
Because he's got longer arms than Parker. So.
Well, yeah. Just look at when they're standing. Look how far down his thighs his arms are compared to most people. They're huge.
Yeah,
man. They're huge.
Yeah. What's this? Oh, Adam says Joe breaks Chisora inside 5. Wow, that's confident.
Oh, yeah, you reckon?
It's pretty tough, Chisora. I think you'd hang in there a bit longer.
Could be right though if Joe's deceptively powerful jab, if he uses that, he quite possibly could get Chisora out of there earlier. Because he's a doesn't get out of the way of jabs either, does he?
No, that's right. And he's got a lot of height and reach over Chisora, Joe Joyce. What's Joe Joyce's reach? About 80? He did about 6 inches over Chisora. He could box Chisora from the outside. From a hell of a time.
We could see the height and reach against Dubois, who's supposed to be 6'5". I mean, Derek Chisora is only 6'2" at best. So he's only got a 76-inch reach or something like that.
6'6", 6'6", Joe Joyce with an 80-inch reach. Yeah, he'd be huge for Chisora.
Yeah,
he really would, mate.
But it'd definitely be a battle of the chins.
Oh, it'd be good, man. It'd be good, man.
Be fun, all right.
Chisora can't handle that work rate. Yeah, he was sucking wind against Usyk.
He was. Yeah, it was even after 2 rounds. When we were watching that, I was like, Chisora's blowing already. How long can he keep this up? So credit to him for doing it for the rest of the fight. He did keep it up. I don't know how. But he seemed to have a good gas tank that time.
I think what helped Chisora was Usyk is not a real banger.
Yeah.
You know, I think a bigger puncher would have got Chisora out of there in that fight.
Yeah. I was actually quite surprised that Usyk hadn't tried to put on a bit of weight for that fight so he could have a bit of power to try and deter.
What was he, about 210? 210 or something?
215.
215.
Yeah. His normal weight, like, that was his normal weight when he was a cruiser. Fight day, he'd be about 215 as well after he had rehydrated. Right. But as a heavyweight, he hadn't put on anything. I think maybe he thought he could, maintain his speed and movement to get out of the way of Chisora most of the time. But Chisora was still able to get to his body and hurt him a bit at times, I thought. So it was a good fight to watch, though. It was awesome.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that fight. It was good, man. You just want to see the big names going in there against each other, eh, man? You just want to see it, you know?
Yeah. And, guys like Chisora, like Dillian Whyte, Joseph Parker, guys have taken a loss. The shine's been taken off and there's not so much to lose anymore.
Yeah.
So why not? Let's just get these good fights. Let those guys who are so worried about their O's worry about the O's somewhere else. Stuff them.
It's so sad. I mean, the fighters in the old days didn't worry about losing their O. You knew you were going to lose it at some point, pretty much.
That's right.
You didn't get too many. Van der Holyfield lost to Riddick Bowe the first fight, and he got straight back in for the second fight. Not a fuss.
You live and learn.
Yeah.
You learn from your mistakes, and you can stop losing. But sometimes a loss is what you need to learn something. If you start getting too cocky or too confident, and
that's what people say about Floyd Mayweather. He started this not losing your O thing, eh?
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of fights he took where he'd wait until the fighter was a certain age, or he was so careful about managing his career that everything depended on him being unbeaten, and it's been contagious and it's destructive, in my opinion.
What it's all about, what boxing's become now. You have to be a realist. I mean, boxing will always be, there's a degree of business in it. There always has been. But it used to be, made the big fights happen, fighters cared about their legacy, and they'd make money.
Yep.
Now, it's just become about maneuvering yourself to a title shot in the easiest way possible. Boxing's never easy, obviously, but maneuvering yourself to a title shot in this easier way as you can and cashing up. And they don't seem to care about legacy, and it's killing the sport.
Well, it seems everybody's focused on, if you can get a title shot, that's where I can make the most money. But they don't seem to realize that if you have a really good matchup and a high quality fight and still have a pay-per-view, it can do just as well as a title shot, depending what kind. I'm not saying it's going to compete with an undisputed fight at heavyweight, but if you've got like Dillian Whyte and Joseph Parker, that fight actually did pretty damn well. And
pay-per-view,
there was nothing on the line for that fight. Nothing.
That's right. What did they do? 450,000 buys in the UK or something?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it was huge. It was big, mate. That's right. And the thing is, the small-mindedness of the promoters and of the fighters, they don't stop to think, if they would make the big fights happen, boxing is going to come alive. You're going to get more people watching it, more people prepared to pay, and there's going to be more money to pay the fighters.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they're hurting themselves with what they're doing. In the long run, the sport's going to die a slow death.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
It sucks. Just seen a comment from Joseph in the chat about Frank Warren and his post-fight comments. So we haven't spoken to you about that one, Marla. What did you think of Frank Warren's attitude?
I didn't see it. I didn't see that.
Okay. He's pretty much talking about, Daniel. If Daniel didn't have a busted eye, he could have won the fight. Daniel can come again. Daniel this, Daniel that. All while Joe Joyce is standing right next to him. Never once said congratulations to Joe Joyce.
That's terrible.
Absolute sourpuss, man. It's disgusting. So yeah.
And who is he Joyce's promoter or?
Well, he was for that fight. It's made everybody
my
start thinking about whether Joyce's
Jesus.
contract is up after this fight or something, because Frank, you know, he's saying, well, the rematch between Joyce and Dubois, the rematch, and Joyce is standing next to him saying, "Hang on, I want to go and fight Usyk. I don't have no rematch in my contract, mate. What the fuck are you on about?"
I think old Frank would have thought Dubois was going to be his AJ, and you know, he's got a spanner's gone into the works, mate.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying at the start. You know, I think Frank's sour because his potential future cash cow has now just turned into a normal cow, moo.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to try and. It's going to be interesting to see his eye, just how bad that is. Because if he's got weakness there, he could have a fear of it, but also other fighters will prey on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing. It's going to be problematic for him.
Fingers crossed he can come back all as good as new, with no effects, because he's a young dude. He's promising. He's exciting to watch. I want to see him again. I want to see him come again. So.
Oh, like yeah, I do too. Because I mean, as I say, I had him ahead in that fight.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't fighting badly, and that's why when he took the knee, and my first reaction was just like disgust. I thought, mate, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, it reminded me of remember Andrew Gallotta? He was fighting Michael Grant, and he was right in the fight. He was doing really well, and then he just literally quit.
Yeah.
Grant knocked him down, and it was like he's just like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
I was like, oh mate,
take my paycheck and run. That's what it looked like to me too. I was like, and it's kind of compounded because Dubois was such a heavy favourite with all the bookies. So you know, going out to round 10 with only 2 rounds to go, you take a knee and quit. It's like, oh. How many people did you tell to put a bet on Joyce in round 10? You know?
Yeah, man. Jeez, it looked really... Because he didn't look like... He said, oh, I felt really terrible pain. Or he didn't look in pain when he was on his knee looking at the ref.
No.
He was just on one knee looking at him, and then he just stood up and said, "You okay, mate?" He didn't look in pain.
Yeah. I think he's just pretty tough, and he lasted that long. Like I was saying earlier, I think it's like at least 5 rounds he was fighting with a broken orbital socket. So
it was swelling. You could see it swelling early, eh?
Yeah. So
you could see it just getting worse and worse. Yeah, mate.
By no means is Daniel Dubois any kind of pussy. In my
no. I certainly wouldn't go that. Yeah, as I say, if you got a fracture there, you got a fragile part of your skull. You keep getting hit there, it could force the bone in. So I'm not going to pass harsh judgment on him. We've got to find out how bad it is and all that. And Yep.
And I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I would actually quite like to see a rematch if both guys come back 100%.
Yeah.
But
definitely, man.
At no, I don't think it should be forced on Joe Joyce either. If it wasn't in his contract, then you know he got the win. He's quite entitled to do what he wants to do at the same time. But wouldn't mind seeing it down the track sometime.
Go get it. If I was Joyce, I'd be looking for a payday.
Damn right.
35. I'd be looking for a title shot. Get a good payday, man.
He earned it.
Yep. Did.
Yeah. All good. All right, man. So, anything else you would like to bring up before we think about wrapping this up, brother?
No, I think that's about all the fights that have we've seen the last week or so. So we've just basically got AJ in a couple of weeks, and that's pretty much the year all done. Pretty much, isn't it? For the heavyweights, at least. Just a comment here from Madam Fahey. I would like to see Joe Joyce v. Robert Helenius. What do you reckon of that one? Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, it'd be a tough fight. I think Helenius would get knocked out by Joyce, to be honest. I don't think Helenius has got... He hasn't got a gas tank good enough to cope with somebody like Joe Joyce. I think Christian Hammer and Joe Joyce is a better fight. Yep. Rather than I would want to see Joyce setting his sights higher.
He also,
He's
also in his comment, he said Triple D v Hammer. That's what made me see Hammer. I guess that one's okay for a comeback fight, but I think Dubois would probably end up taking something a bit softer than Hammer as a comeback fight. But yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see Joseph Parker. I want to see him get this Junior Farr fight out of the way, and I want to see Eddie Hearn as promoter. I want to see them get him some fights, because when you look at Chisora, how Chisora looked against Usyk, you look at how Usyk looked against Chisora, you look at Dubois. Parker can compete with these guys.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Now, AJ and Fury might be a step too far for Parker. These other guys, he can compete with them.
I think so. Yeah.
I want to see him get some fights before his career's over. He's 28. He wanted to fight till he was 30, so he's got a couple of years to, get in there and add to his resume.
Interesting point about that. Yeah, he was saying he only wanted to fight till he's 30, 31, but I heard him in an interview like a few weeks ago talking about 35 now.
Oh, yeah.
He's got that bug.
Happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the bug, mate. It always happens, eh? Jeez.
I think the motive behind that is he wants to be able to get himself another title shot before he gives it up. Yeah. So it may take that long, depending on how things go with career and with COVID and all the rest of it, as well. Everybody vying for the undisputed at the moment, but there's being so many mandatories in the way, and a lot of compounding issues. It could take him up to another 5 or 6 years until he gets another title shot. If he wins, got to keep winning.
That's the thing. He's got to get some decent fights and keep winning. It was so unfortunate with Chisora, with that spider thing. That was a bummer, because that would have really helped Parker.
Yeah, well,
good fight.
I was thinking about it. This thing with Junior Farr, it's kind of what Joe did to Chisora with the spider bite. It's kind of what Junior's doing to Joe. There's a bit of karma, I guess.
It is, yeah. I wonder what's wrong with he's had a lot of health issues, Farr, over the years. Well,
yeah, they're saying it's not to do with the condition he suffered like 3 years ago, yet he's had yet to have an operation, and it's something to do with blood tests, which was similar to what happened with the low hemoglobin and iron levels last time around, and he had to have a gut operation last time too. So to me it sounds like the same existing conditions, and they're trying not to let it out that it is. I don't know why they're hiding it so much. If you've got an issue and you go to hospital and get it fixed, it's fixed. So how can somebody use it to their advantage? Sounds like crap to me.
Yeah, that's right. They used that excuse, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't want them to be able to prey on it. It's like, oh, mate.
Whatever, Trevor.
Yeah, man. If you've had the surgery and you're sorted, well, then you're sorted.
Yeah. But, we'll see what happens. I think they were looking at the end of January if they could, but I think they were looking at the end of February, March.
It'll be fair. Yeah,
because both guys will be starting camp again at the start of January. Apparently, that's all going well if Junior's health is up to scratch. So, we'll see. Best of luck to Junior though with his recovery. I hope it all gets sorted out. I want to see both those guys in the ring at 100%, and get this mega fight for New Zealand out of the way. Let's see who can pull it off. Yeah,
I'm going for Parker by TKO in that fight. I think he'll
get him. I'm tossing up between whether he's going to stop him or it's going to go the distance, because Junior's pretty defensively sound.
It could be like that Kajanu fight.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think Junior's actually got better feet than Joe when he uses them. But come the day, who knows? I've watched a few of Junior's old fights back in the amateurs, and he seemed to move a lot better, and he seemed to be a lot more aggressive and move his head a lot better than how he looks now. But I don't know. I don't know. Surely he's got to be better now than he was in the amateurs.
Yeah.
All right.
So Parker's improved more. He's at a high level of competition. He's quicker, and I think he's made more improvement than Junior Farr has since turning pro. And yeah, I think I'd be stunned if Parker didn't win that fight. No.
Well, I'd be shocked if Junior knocks Parker out.
Imagine it.
I could possibly see a situation where Junior could beat Joe on points, maybe, in a very tight fight, but I can't see Junior stopping Joe. No way.
No, I can't see it either.
So, all right. Well, that's about us for today. Appreciate you dropping in, Marla. Always a pleasure. For those of you who don't know, Stephen4722 in the chat is Marla. Yeah, it is what it is. He's on his AKA mission today. And yeah. Thanks for dropping in, everybody else in the chat as well. We got Joseph in the house, Adam Fahey. Who else we got in here? We got Hous or Young. Yeah, thanks for dropping in. Everybody, do appreciate y'all dropping in. And we Amanda Solo as well. Gareth Hancock. Who else we got? We're all good. Everybody I think I got. And Stephen4722, of course.
Yep.
Alright, so yeah, it's been fun. We shall catch you all next time. Take it easy.
Sweet. Later, Jono.
Yeah, bro. And that is a wrap for today. Hope you all enjoyed today's session. If you have, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so not to miss future content. If you'd like to get more involved with the channel, off air, and with the subscribers, you can head to the main channel page, and up on the right of the channel banner there is this Discord invite link. Once you click on that, it will take you to the Big Boys Boxing Discord server. Over here we have multiple platforms for chat. We have general chat, which is anything boxing. We have live fight links, where I drop links to fights within 24 hours of them screening. We have live fight replays. I drop the occasional replay here so you can come and watch them. We also have Fight Night Chat, which is for people who play Fightnight Champion. I play a bit of it. You can come and talk strategies, tips, whatever here. But the main thing here is this live panel voice channel. If you ever want to get involved on the live panel on YouTube, this is where it runs from. You come here, simply click on it, and you are in the live chat. And see the green rings come up when I speak. That means your mic is active. Down the bottom here, if you want to mute at any time, you can do so, like that. And if you want to get out at all, there's this hang up button right here. And that's all there is to it. So like I say, I'm Jono from Big Boys Boxing. I will catch you next time. Peace.